Hey guys, this is Luke from Make Masking Optional. I'm here with Shannon Johnson, Zone 3 candidate for Billings Public Schools Board of Trustees. You're not going to want to miss this interview. Let's move on to a new category. We're going to talk about board meetings.
Oh boy.
Exciting stuff. What do you feel is the best way to resolve conflicts in the board setting? Conflicts could be between board members, could be between community members and the board, but just conflicts. How do you see conflict resolution?
I think for conflict resolution in the boardroom, if there is a public speaker and they've got a time limit on there, nobody else has a time limit, by the way, just the public speakers. I think that needs to go away. I'm just going to say that in this little section here because everybody should have the same allotment of time. And if that means that you move even just time your presentations, tell the people that are presenting, you've only got 10 minutes to present this because the board's just going to say yes anyway. Yep. So why are you taking half an hour to explain an entire grant when you could just give us the nuts and bolts and then be done with that? Because there wasn't really anything to approve. It was just a report out in the most recent meeting. So to me, the conflict resolution is the board has got to start responding, and not in defensiveness, but thanking people for their feedback. And then fostering discussion to say, okay, what are we going to do? Did we consider that? How did we consider that? How do you let the public know you've considered that? Where's the discussion? Where are the notes? Was this on a different committee? Things need to be more transparent. If you give people more information, they will have less aggression towards it. They will question you a lot less with that tone. And obviously, we're all adults. We should always take a respectful tone no matter what and never get heated. It's tough sometimes when you're standing up there and you're trying to give public comment and you feel very passionate about it. But there's a difference between passion and being disrespectful. I think it's completely disrespectful that the board ignores people. I think it's completely disrespectful, whether it's by email or whether it's in person. I think that they could diffuse conflict very easily simply by responding with a simple thank you for your feedback.
I agree.
Yep, that's good. And I am lost. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. So as a school board trustee, how would you gather information? If you have to make a decision on something that maybe they've given you some information, what's the process for you in order to take you to the voting part? How are you going to gather your information?
Excellent question. So it's actually what I have been doing since I have announced that I was running. I filed formally on December 9th. So that's pretty much when I say I've been running the campaign. I have been reaching out to teachers. I've been reaching out to special education parents. I've been reaching out to all manners of community members, asking questions, meeting them for coffee, taking copious amounts of notes. One time in particular, I met with a group of moms who had special education kids. And I think that's that's the appropriate term for them. And the reason I say that is because they informed me that my kids would be considered general education kids because they don't have any learning disabilities or any IEPs or anything like that. I had no idea. They completely opened my brain and then poured in all this wonderful information. And it was so incredibly valuable to meet with them. There were 3 moms there. I cannot believe the amount of strength and courage those moms have had to have in fighting for their kids every single day. They wake up, put on their armor because they know they're going to fight every day. They said to me, we're kind of glad that this mask thing came up when it did, because now you all know what we've had to do for our kids' entire lives, get up and fight. And it's tiring. Yeah. It's exhausting. I'm sure you guys have felt that fatigue in just constantly fighting. There's a fire, yes, but it's exhausting because sometimes you don't feel like you're making any headway or pushing people back. So going out there and meeting with those people, getting the perspective from those experiencing it, and doing the research. If there is a particular facility, a school, a classroom that doesn't have the resources it needs, I'm going to go visit that classroom. I had a teacher reach out and say she wishes that the trustees would spend more than 5 minutes in the classroom. She said, spend a whole day and then you'll really get a picture of what things are like for us. And I thought, that's a good idea. So in that moment, I had personally committed, which I'm now admitting to you all publicly, that, if I need to take vacation time from my day job so that I can go and do those types of visits, I'm fully willing to do that so that I can truly gain an accurate perspective, because this is about truth. I feel like I'm fighting for truth. I'm representing truth. I want to bring a true representation back to the board and let the public know what's really going on, and be a voice for even teachers who feel that they maybe are too afraid to speak up, which we all understand why.
Well, and that's a good point though that you made, because it's easy to put on some smiles for 5 minutes, say hi to the trustees and entertain them. But how are you gonna walk through an entire day just putting your best foot forward? No, it's going to be more of the real life,
right?
And the trustees are going to get a better picture. So that's a fantastic point.
So that was my question.
All right, and that also concludes the board meetings section. We're now going to transition to the policies and talk about some policies within the district. Are you familiar with the Balanced Calendar Initiative?
I am.
Okay. And so do you support a balanced calendar initiative? Why or why not?
I don't actually support a balanced calendar. And I have a sister-in-law in Boise, Idaho that actually teaches in a year-round school. And she really likes it, and she's given me all of her reasonings for that. But I actually want my kids to have a nice, long, healthy break in between their school years so that they can really, truly get rest. I think about my daughter, who is almost 17 next week, and she is in all APP classes except for one. She's carrying a 4.5 GPA. And I know, can't she get any better than that? I'm like, I could only earn a 4. She's getting a 4.5. But she's exhausted. She doesn't get to read books of her own choosing. She also has a part-time job while she's carrying this GPA and doing all of this work. She is in love with school. She adores her teachers. It has been a great experience for my kids. I'll just be honest with that, because my kids do love to learn and they don't have any barriers or setbacks to that. However, I feel like after all of that work that she's doing, she deserves a good long break to just mature a little bit, because from year to year, there's a lot of growth that happens over the summer, both physically and mentally for our kids. And I believe that they need some time. Families need time to go on vacations and not worry about taking their kids out of school, because my kids get stressed out when they miss assignments and everything. We plan our vacations as a family around when they're in school. Oftentimes we will not take a vacation, not even to Disneyland, nowhere. We will not go anywhere throughout the course of the school year if we have to take our kids out of school, because they don't want to miss their assignments. I don't want to cause any unneeded stress. So I don't think it is a good move right now. And I think that our kids deserve a bigger break, and the families need time to spend together.
And I would like to add, or whatever, I would be curious to find out what the teachers think, because I know as a former teacher myself, I always felt like at the end of the year, I'm like, ugh. And then at the beginning of the year, after the summer off, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. You get that excitement to start new things and try new things. And I'd be curious, particularly with the elementary school teachers, because they are like, every minute of the day is planned. I would be interested to see how they would feel about that.
And I'm sure there's some scientific research out there somewhere that, and I know there is, as far as like when you're having study sessions, you should take breaks every 20 to 30 minutes for about 15 minutes, because you absorb better. And so if we're pushing schooling year round, how much are they really absorbing when it's just constant education and constant stress? And they don't get the time to just be kids and go out and have fun when the weather is warm. Go swimming, go get into whatever kids get into. And, like we did when we were kids, we need to give them that time.
I agree. And I think just to kind of wrap that point up is, to your point about scientific studies, is it seems that the notion of a summer slide comes from a study in the 1980s that was done. And since then, there have been numerous studies that have actually questioned that study and whether that is accurate. And so the science is definitely not settled on if there is a summer slide, and the science surrounding the benefits of a balanced calendar are very mixed, very mixed. And so I think that when you're talking about disrupting an entire system, you're disrupting an entire community, because the whole community is really built around the school calendar.
Yeah.
And I think you really have to be very sure about why you're making that change. I always have this thing about, why are there guard posts and fences up in the first place? And before you start taking those down, you better be sure about why they were put up in the first place.
And one last quick point on that is, if the board wasn't behaving in the manner that they were behaving in, I think that issues like that would be a little bit easier to solve. And then you throw in on top of that the school choice issue.
Mhm.
And I feel like if the board was actually having good relationships or fostering good relationships with parents and teachers, then that conversation would look a lot different than it does now.
I would agree. Okay, me?
Yep, it's you.
Okay, so employees and community members are very resistant to change in general.
Some can be.
Some can be. Okay. And some see it as positive. But how do you view change in the context of educational programs?
Such as curriculum.
Yeah. You want to say curriculum or?
Yeah, whatever topic
Just
you want to
anything.
choose, just any change. It could be what we're talking about with the balanced calendar. It could be curriculum, just change in general. Sometimes people are very resistant and reluctant to change, even if they don't have a reason. And others are always looking to be on the bleeding edge and always want to adopt it. So how do you view change?
Well, I actually believe in change in many, many ways. I enjoy change because I am a learner and I love to learn new things. I am never afraid to be a beginner in anything because I get to learn something new. However, when we are making changes that are at the mercy of fixing a score, if we're trying to get our education scores or our students' testing scores up, and we're going to make a year-round calendar or make those large kind of disruptive changes just to manipulate our scoring system, that's not good change. It depends on what the intention behind the change is. If we want creativity and innovation, and we want to figure out how we can get better opportunities for our kids in the sense of maybe some small apprenticeship opportunities, or just, actual real world experience, because I think we're lacking in that a lot in our educational system. If it's for that type of a reason, to give the kids an experience that will shape them and grow them and maybe help their creativity and innovation, then I believe in change. So it really depends on what the intention of that change and what the purpose is at the end of the day.
That's good.
Okay.
It's good. One of my concerns over the past year of watching this board operate, and the superintendent in general, is I feel that they've operated in a ends justify the means type of philosophy, that whatever we need to get done, we will do whatever we have to do to get it done. So are you an ends justify the means type of person when it comes to getting things done, or do you consider convictions and principles?
I absolutely consider convictions and principles. Right is right. And I feel that we are getting into some gray area with being morally sound on our board. I think they're following a specific narrative and agenda that's going on in our world today, and that concerns me greatly because I am very traditional. I believe that children at a very young age should have more influence by their parents and their family than they do from the school. I think the schools are really starting to gray the line between where an institution should begin and end, where healthcare should begin and end, and where the families should be involved. I understand that not every child has a supportive family or has a family in many cases. But again, I believe there's creative solutions and strategies that we could deploy around that as well. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what we really need to do. What I would love to do, I would really love to do this because I've done this before in healthcare. I would love to have a couple of teachers, a couple of parents, a couple of, maybe administrative leaders, whomever, and board trustees to form a committee just to brainstorm creative solutions and ideas around just doing it, as the ends justify the means. I think that we need to get together and just kind of have like a machine, just like a collective think tank, like what could we do? Because if we don't set ourselves apart separately as a community, then we're just going to follow someone else's narrative. And Billings is way more impactful than that. We've got a lot more to us. I have heard so many creative ideas from parents through this campaign process. I think we need to get everybody in a room, and I think we just need to brainstorm because it's fun.
Yeah.
So, you were talking earlier about committees, about community members coming together as a committee. And I have heard about committees for the school board where they had parents' involvement. I don't know how they got the parents because I never saw an advertisement or whatever. Do you have any ideas of how to get a variety of parents involvement if you had committees committees? Or would you like where would you gather the parents that would be a part of the committee? How would you do that?
That's a great question. My I don't know how they do it currently either. I actually didn't even know that they involved parents on those committees. I would love to know because I would have loved to have served on one of those committees. But the way that I have done it in the past in healthcare, we created patient family advisory councils. So we actually recruited patients and family members to come in and tell us as a clinic how, like, give us feedback and tell us what they think we should be doing and let us hear from their perspective how things are going, because we want to make it a great experience for them. So if we want to make this a great experience for our kids in our public school system and even for our parents, then what I would probably do first is I would look to the people who call in the most, the people who have the most to say. I'm not the person that thinks those are the crabby people. I think those are the ones we got to be getting on there because they're willing to say what others are not willing to say. And if we don't say it, who's going to? If we don't start speaking up, who's going to? So we need people willing. The other opportunity that I would provide on that is I would send out a flyer. I'd send it home with the kids or via email. I get emails from my kids' teachers. I do read them. And if somebody said, hey, we're looking for parents to sit on a committee, please let us know if you're willing. If you get an overabundance of that, then you have a formal process to kind of determine that at that point in time. Or just have a huge boardroom full of people that everybody has a chance to just get up and come to the brainstorming session and really like get down to work and make it fun. I think that's possible. We don't have to make decisions, just create ideas.
I think one of my concerns about Billings Public Schools in relation to the county schools is that lack of involvement, the lack of community. And I feel like part of the problem that I see is that Billings Public Schools has gotten so large that it's large enough that everyone feels like it's someone else's problem. Everyone else feels like someone else will stand up, or someone else will take care of it, right? And so that's how we've gone 6 years without a board of trustees contested election, is because it's always like someone else will do it. Surely, I mean, in a district this size, but what we see in the county schools, the Elder Groves, the Lockwoods, the Elysians, we see a lot of community, a lot of involvement. And I feel like Billings lost that. And so that's what we need to try and cultivate. And things like what you're talking about, making parents and community members feel like they're part of it,
Yes.
instead of just being lectured from the boardroom,
Yes.
would go a long way. So I really love those think tank ideas. I love
Mhm.
those. We have facilities.
Yeah.
We own facilities.
Yep.
We could host these events. We could do it on school property, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. And that kind of goes back to that first question that you asked. It's like if we're shutting out the parents from being able to have that relationship, then that's where all of the problems begin. And then they're just like, well, they're not going to listen to me, so I'm just not even going to try anymore. Over time, that's what they want, and they just want people to shut up and not tell them, and they just want to, pass this stuff unanimously and cut us all out of it. But I mean, you could even have almost like a request for proposal process come up and say, okay, community members, what innovative idea do you have to help move education forward on this topic? And just have people submit. When I was at the last board meeting, there was a student that got up with the help of a couple of adults. I think one of them was her father, and in conjunction with St. John's. And she pitched this wonderful idea about using a computerized system to grow lettuce, and just it was a really cool way to combine generations.
Yep.
From the elderly to the young. And I thought she did a great job speaking through that presentation. But that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. That was so innovative. Even the board loved hearing about it. All of us parents loved hearing that as we were sitting there. I mean, why not put that out more often? Our kids have great ideas. I mean, we could completely make a whole process for that and really start to implement things no other community has. and then go out and help other communities do the same thing.
Shannon, thanks so much for your time. It was a pleasure to sit down and visit with you and hear some of your thoughts and ideas that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Shannon Johnson, straight from the horse's mouth. She is pro-public education. She's a friend of education. She is pro-student. She's pro-parent. She's pro-teacher. And I think that she has earned the right for you to vote for her. And I hope that you will vote for her on May 3rd, 2022. Watch for your ballots. They're going to be coming in the mail. Middle of April, they'll be mailed out. And when you see that, put the check box next to Shannon Johnson. Shannon, how can they connect with you?
You can connect with me on my website, johnson4schools.com.
Fantastic. And if you want to, you can jump on and watch these videos and see the interviews with the other candidates at makemaskinoptional.com. And we hope to see some new faces on the school board come.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.